Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. My friends, that one cuts deep. Because for so long, you thought words would fix it. You thought explaining yourself, proving your worth, chasing their approval would finally make them see you. But let me hit you with the truth. Talking never shook their world, silence did. The moment you stopped chasing, the entire game flipped upside down. And today, we're going to break down exactly why that silence isn't weakness, it's power. Before we dive in, do me a quick favor. Press that like button, hit subscribe, and stay with me till the end, because this one is going to change how you see yourself forever. Hey folks, imagine this. You're watching your favorite TV series. You've been invested for years, following every twist, every heartbreak, every character arc. Then suddenly, right in the middle of the season, the show just stops. No finale, no explanation, no answers. You're left staring at the screen, wondering, what happened? Did I miss something? That's what silence does. It leaves them with a story unfinished. It forces them to replay every scene in their head, trying to find meaning in your absence. And that, my friends, is louder than any speech you could ever give. Here's the lie you were fed. If I just keep showing up, if I just keep giving more, one day they'll value me. Wrong. The more you chased, the cheaper your presence became. You can hand someone gold every day, but if it's free, they'll treat it like scrap metal. Value isn't proven by how loud you shout. It's proven by how willing you are to walk away when you're not respected. Think about a chess match. As long as you keep moving your pieces, the game continues. Every move you make keeps them entertained. But the second you fold the board and walk away, the game dies. That's what walking away does. It exposes the truth. They never had control. They were only borrowing it from you. And my friends, let's be honest, didn't you feel like a dog chasing its own tail, running in circles, exhausted, dizzy, and yet getting nowhere? You thought persistence would earn you love, but persistence only earned you pain. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the key. You don't control them, their games, their silence, but you control your response. And when your response becomes silence, when your energy shifts from chasing them to building yourself, everything changes. Now, let me add a little fun twist here. It's like going to a restaurant, ordering a meal, and instead of getting the full dish, the waiter keeps dropping crumbs on your table. One day it's a fry, the next day a piece of lettuce, the next day a drop of ketchup, and you're sitting there, starving, waiting, saying, "Thank you for crumbs." Crazy, right? But that's exactly what happens when you let someone feed you half-effort affection. You stop calling crumbs a meal the moment you realize your hunger deserves a feast. The truth is this: silence doesn't mean you lost. Walking away doesn't mean you were weak. It means you finally remembered who you are. You finally stood up from the table that was never serving you. You stopped playing the clown in their circus. You stopped auditioning for a role that should have been yours by default. And that, my friends, is freedom. So as we go deeper into this, remember, silence isn't empty, it's full of answers. Walking away isn't defeat, it's dignity. And the moment you stop chasing, you stop being an option and start being a man of value. Type this in the comments to seal it. My silence is power. 4 words that change everything. Write it, show yourself, show the world. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, because we're only just getting started. Stay with me. Number 1. Silence becomes their nightmare. The loudest screams are the ones nobody hears. Let that sink in, my friends. Because when you stop chasing, when your voice disappears from their world, that's when they finally hear it. Not when you argued, not when you begged, not when you wrote paragraphs trying to make them understand. No, it was when you went quiet that the ground shook beneath their feet. People don't expect silence. They expect drama, chaos, explanations. They expect to still feel powerful because they've gotten used to the rhythm of you reacting. But when you go quiet, it's like cutting the power in a house. They're left stumbling in the dark, and for the first time, they have to face themselves without the distraction of your energy. Imagine this. You've been playing your favorite video game for hours, day after day. You've mastered the controls, memorized the levels, gotten used to the music and the sound effects. And then one day, without warning, the console shuts down, the screen goes black. You press buttons, you shake the controller, you hit restart, but nothing. All you're left with is silence. And in that silence, your brain starts spinning. What happened? Did I break it? Will it ever turn back on? That's exactly the nightmare they face when you walk away without explanation. It isn't your voice they miss at first. It's the rhythm of your presence, the familiarity of knowing you'll react. And here's the lie you've probably been living with. If I stop talking, if I stop chasing, they'll forget me. Wrong. Silence isn't forgettable. Silence is haunting. Think about the last time someone you cared about gave you the cold shoulder. Didn't it crawl under your skin? Didn't it force you to overthink every little thing? That's what your silence does to them. It flips the script, because they thought your love was endless, your attention guaranteed. They thought you'd always clap when they put on a show, no matter how sloppy the performance. But when you fold your arms and sit in silence, suddenly the show isn't fun anymore. It's empty. Now I know what's going through your head. You're asking, but what if they never notice? What if my silence means nothing? My friends, listen carefully. People always notice absence louder than presence. When you're there, they normalize you. They get used to the warmth of the sun until one day the sun doesn't rise. That's when they look up in panic, asking where the light went. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Your silence isn't about punishment, it's about discipline. It's about refusing to be dragged into the mud where they wanted you to wrestle. It's about saying, "I choose peace, even if you choose chaos." But let's break another lie while we're here. They told you silence makes you look weak. They told you that if you don't explain yourself, if you don't fight for attention, you'll be forgotten. That's the trick they want you to believe, because it keeps you performing for them. The truth is, silence is strength wrapped in discipline. Anyone can lash out. Anyone can scream. Anyone can beg. That takes no power at all, but to hold back, to control your tongue, to let the storm rage without stepping outside, that's mastery. That's when you realize their games only worked because you kept playing. Think of silence as a mirror. When you speak, they can point fingers, deflect, argue back. But when you go silent, the only reflection they see is themselves. And trust me, that's scarier than anything you could say. Because now they're left alone with their own actions, their own coldness, their own lies. Silence makes them hear echoes of their choices in a way your words never could. And yes, it's difficult. I won't lie to you. Walking away, staying quiet, resisting the urge to send that one last text, that's hard. Because deep down, you fear being forgotten. You fear that silence means erasure. But here's the reality. Silence doesn't erase you. It engraves you. It makes your absence felt in every corner they walk into. It's like a song they used to hear every day. The moment the music stops, the silence screams louder than the melody ever did. Think about a restaurant where you were a regular. You showed up every day, tipping big, being polite, giving business, and then one day you stop coming. At first, the waiter shrugs. A week passes and they start wondering. A month passes and suddenly they realize how much revenue they lost when you stopped showing up. That's the power of silence. You don't have to announce your worth. You let your absence prove it. So why is this so powerful? Because it teaches them a lesson no words ever could. They thought they had infinite chances. They thought you'd always be the fallback, the safety net. But when you go silent, you tear that net away and they're left to fall. And the truth is, it isn't even about making them suffer. It's about making yourself free. Free from cycles of explaining, free from begging for scraps, free from proving what was already true, that you were enough. Seneca said, "It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable." And silence, my friends, is unconquerable because they can't twist it, they can't argue with it, they can't manipulate it. Silence is untouchable. So let me leave you with this. Don't see silence as an empty void. See it as a full presence of strength. When you stop chasing, you stop bleeding energy into a black hole that never gave back. And when you reclaim that energy, you don't just survive, you rebuild. Stronger, sharper, more untouchable than before. Write this in the comments to anchor it into your soul. My silence is power. Show yourself. Show the world, and stay with me, because what's coming next is even more eye-opening. We're just getting started. Number 2, their control was always borrowed. Power isn't taken, it's given. Let that line hit you hard, my friends, because for so long you believed they had the upper hand. You believed they were the puppeteer pulling strings while you danced, powerless to stop yourself. But here's the truth, they never had the strings. You tied yourself up and handed them over. That control they flashed in your face, it was borrowed. And the day you stop giving it, the day you step back, that illusion collapses like a house of cards in a storm. Imagine this. You loan a friend your car. At first, they treat it with care, washing it, driving it gently, filling it with gas. But over time, they get sloppy. They slam the brakes, ignore the warning lights, trash the interior. They start to believe it's their car, their property, their right. Until one day, you take the keys back. Suddenly, they're stranded. All along, the power to drive was yours to give, not theirs to own. That's what happens when you stop chasing. They realize they were only driving because you allowed it. Here's the lie they sold you. I'm the one in control. I decide when to give you affection, when to withhold it, when to keep you guessing. And here's the truth. Control only existed because you rewarded it. Every time they pulled away and you chased, you fed the illusion. Every time they acted cold and you doubled down on effort, you signed the lease on a car that already belonged to you. They thought they were kings and queens, but they were just renters, borrowing their throne from your willingness to kneel. Now let's be real. Why do we hand over power so easily? Fear. Fear of losing them, fear of being alone, fear that if we don't chase, if we don't overcompensate, they'll leave us in the dust. And that fear is powerful. It convinces you that begging is safer than boundaries, that crawling is safer than walking away. But my friends, that's the biggest lie of all. Because the moment you fear losing someone more than losing yourself, you've already lost. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength, their cold shoulder. That's outside of you. Their games, outside of you. But your decision to stop playing, that's all yours. And once you recognize that, once you stop pouring fuel into their fire, they're left with nothing but smoke. Think of it like a chess game. As long as you keep moving pieces, they're engaged, confident, certain they're winning. But the moment you fold the board and walk away, what's left? Nothing to manipulate, nothing to strategize, no victory to claim. Their control evaporates the second you decide not to participate. That's the beauty of realizing control is borrowed. You can repossess it anytime you want. And yes, it's going to be difficult, because part of you will whisper, if I stop giving, won't they just move on? Won't they find someone else? Maybe they will. Maybe they'll go searching for another stage to perform on. But that doesn't change the truth. You didn't lose them, they lost access to you. And access to you, my friends, is not free. It's earned with respect, consistency, and care. Here's the funny part. They'll test you. They'll poke to see if the old version of you still exists. A casual message, a half-hearted hey, a little breadcrumb to see if you'll chase again. That's when you remind yourself, crumbs aren't meals. Half effort doesn't get rewarded. The keys stay in your pocket this time. So why does this shift sting them so badly? Because it forces them to see the truth they never wanted to face. That all their games, all their so-called control, was a mirage. They weren't powerful. You were permissive. And now that you've shut the door, now that you've taken the keys back, they're left stranded. They don't just miss you, they miss the version of themselves that felt important when you kept feeding their ego. And here's your motivation. Stop handing out free power. Stop letting anyone dictate your worth by the way they treat you. When you hold your ground, when you refuse to chase, when you stop playing their game, you remind the world and yourself that control isn't stolen from you, it's surrendered, and you're done surrendering. So write this in the comments to lock it into your mind. I keep my power. Show yourself, show the world. Because once you take it back, once you remember who it belongs to, there's no game left for them to play. Stay with me, because what comes next will dig even deeper. Number 3. Half effort no longer gets rewarded. If you treat a king like a beggar, don't be surprised when he walks away from your table. My friends, this is where the tide turns. For too long you've been accepting crumbs and calling it a feast. You've been thanking them for half effort as if it were love. And deep down, you knew it wasn't enough. You knew you were starving, but you convinced yourself that a bite here, a drop there, would sustain you. That's the lie. If I just hold on, their little gestures mean they still care. But the truth? Half effort is disrespect dressed as affection. And once you stop rewarding it, they feel the loss heavier than you ever did. Picture this. You walk into a 5-star restaurant, ready for a full-course meal. You've paid the price, you've waited patiently, your expectations are high. But when the waiter comes, he drops a single fry on your plate and says, "That should hold you over." You laugh at the absurdity. You'd never accept that, right? And yet in relationships, how many times did you let them serve you scraps? A delayed reply after days of silence, a lukewarm compliment after weeks of indifference, a maybe when you asked for clarity, and you swallowed it, convinced it was better than nothing. But here's the shift. You've stopped clapping for half performances. You've stopped opening the door for someone who only knocks when it's convenient. And that silence, that refusal, cuts deeper than any confrontation. Because before, they knew they could throw you the smallest signal, a lazy hey, an emoji at midnight, and you'd come running like they had just given you a crown. Now, that same crumb falls flat. You don't move. And suddenly they're starving for the validation you once gave so freely. They start asking themselves questions they never had to before. Why didn't he reply instantly? Why didn't that little gesture work this time? Has he changed? Did I lose my grip? And those questions burn. Because what they once believed was control was really just your willingness to reward inconsistency. Here's a hard truth, folks. People treat free things carelessly. A concert ticket handed out for nothing? It ends up in the trash. But one earned with sweat, sacrifice, or money. That ticket is guarded, cherished, remembered. That's what your attention is now. It comes with a price tag: respect, effort, consistency. And the moment you start living by that principle, they realize they can't coast anymore. But let's talk about the fear that creeps in. You'll think, if I stop accepting crumbs, maybe they'll give me nothing at all. Maybe I'll lose them. And I'll tell you, my friends, that's the best outcome. Because what you're losing isn't love. It's manipulation. It's laziness. It's someone teaching you that you should be grateful for bare minimum effort. Losing that isn't loss, it's liberation. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." And bravery here means saying no to what doesn't honor you. It means walking away from half effort, even if your heart screams at you to settle. Because settling is a slow poison, and freedom is the antidote. Let me give you another picture. Imagine training a dog. Every time it sits, you give it a treat. Over time, the dog learns the pattern. Sit equals reward. But what if one day the dog only halfway sits, kind of bends, kind of wobbles, doesn't fully commit, and you still toss it a treat? What happens? The standard drops. The dog learns it doesn't need to give full effort anymore. That's what you've been teaching people when you reward crumbs. You trained them to believe you'll accept less, but the moment you stop giving the treat, the moment you demand full commitment, that's when standards rise. And trust me, they'll notice. They'll panic. They'll scramble to test if the old version of you still exists. But when you hold your ground, when you let their half-effort bounce off you like rain on steel, they'll feel the sting of their own neglect. It's not cruelty, it's justice, it's balance. So here's your motivation. Stop lowering your bar so others can trip over it. Raise it so high that only the worthy can reach. Your time is not a clearance sale. Your heart is not a vending machine spitting out validation for spare change. Your love is a treasure, and treasures aren't found lying in the dirt. Say this with me and write it in the comments to lock it in. My time has value because it does. And once you live like it, half effort won't even register in your world anymore. Stay with me, because what comes next will make them taste the coldness they once served you. Number 4, they taste their own coldness. The frost you once endured will one day chill the hands that dealt it. My friends, let's get real. There was a time when you sat staring at your phone, waiting for a reply that never came. You reread your own words, wondering if you said too much or too little. You felt invisible while they carried on like your presence meant nothing. That coldness, that distance, that silence, it cut you in ways they'll never truly understand. But here's the twist. The tables always turn. The very emptiness they gave you is the same emptiness they will be forced to taste when you finally stop chasing. And trust me, it burns twice as much when it comes from you, because deep down, they always believed you'd be the one who never walked away. Picture this. It's the middle of winter, and you've been outside in the snow without gloves. Your fingers ache, numb, stiff. You blow into your hands, but the cold is relentless. That's what their indifference felt like you were always exposed, always freezing while they stood warm inside. And yet, despite the cold, you still knocked on their door, hoping they'd let you in. Now imagine this. The door swings shut, but not because you're outside, it's because they are. Suddenly, they're the ones standing in the frost, waiting for warmth that never comes. That's the reality when you stop giving them the comfort they once took for granted. Here's the lie they lived in. He'll never leave. He'll always reply. He'll always forgive. That was their safety net. They threw coldness at you like confetti, certain you'd sweep it up and still show up smiling. But when you withdraw, when you stop answering to crumbs, when you let silence meet silence, they crash into a truth they can't spin. That truth is this: Nobody survives their own medicine without scars. And let me address your fear, because I know it's there. You're thinking, but what if they don't even notice? What if my silence just makes it easier for them to forget? My friends, people always notice absence louder than presence. You can ignore a background song while it plays, but the moment it stops, the quiet feels unbearable. That's how your absence hits them. They may not admit it, but in the quiet moments, when they reach for the certainty you once gave, they'll find nothing, and that nothing weighs heavier than your words ever did. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best answer to anger is silence." And silence here isn't empty, it's a mirror. It shows them what it feels like to be left hanging, to be treated like an afterthought, to send out signals and receive only stillness in return. And that mirror is merciless, because they know exactly how it feels. They made you feel it. But this time, there's no satisfaction, no control, no ego boost. There's just the raw sting of realizing they no longer have the access they once abused. Think of it like a stage play. For so long, they were the star, and you were the loyal audience. They could put on a weak performance, forget their lines, walk off mid-scene, and you'd still clap like it was a masterpiece. But now, the theater is empty. The spotlight burns, but there's no applause. Their performance falls flat because the one who mattered, you, walked away. And what's worse than being ignored? Performing for no one. That's the silence they taste. And don't confuse this with revenge. This isn't about getting them back. It's not about cruelty. It's about balance. For every unanswered message you endured, for every moment you felt unseen, they now carry the weight of wondering why you no longer respond. It isn't punishment, it's reality. Reality has a way of humbling those who once believed they were untouchable. But let's admit something, it's not easy to let them sit in that cold. Part of you will ache to break the silence, to reach out, to soften their frost, because that's who you've always been. The giver, the fixer, the one who warms even the coldest hearts. But that instinct is exactly what kept you trapped. And the hardest lesson you'll ever learn is this: not everyone deserves your warmth. Some people only learn through the chill of losing it. So when the silence feels heavy, remind yourself, this is not cruelty, this is clarity. You're not making them suffer. You're simply refusing to suffer alone anymore. They are finally experiencing the cost of their own choices, and in that balance, you'll find peace. Seneca wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage. And to live with standards, to walk away from half-effort, to let them face their own coldness, that's courage. You're not just surviving their games, you're outgrowing them. So let me leave you with this. You don't need to slam doors, shout, or prove your worth. Simply step back and let them feel the frost they once handed you. The silence will teach them more than your words ever could. Type this in the comments to claim it as your truth. I deserve warmth. Write it. Show yourself, show the world, and stay with me, because next we're going to uncover how your growth becomes the very mirror that haunts them. Number 5. Your growth becomes their mirror. The best revenge is not to hurt them, but to show them you no longer need them. My friends, this is where silence takes on a whole new form. It stops being just the absence of words and becomes the presence of something far more powerful, your growth. You see, silence isn't just emptiness, it's space, and what you choose to fill that space with is what shakes their world the hardest. Because when you step away from their games, you don't just sit still, you rise, and that rise becomes a mirror they can't escape. Imagine this. They left you expecting to see a broken man, someone stuck replaying old conversations, scrolling their pictures, wasting away in self-pity. They thought the silence meant you were hiding in the dark, waiting for them to come back with crumbs of attention. But then weeks pass, months pass, and the silence starts echoing with something different. Not sadness, not regret, growth. Suddenly you're sharper, stronger, more focused than ever before. And that transformation doesn't just speak, it roars. Think about a gym. You've seen people walk in on day one, shoulders slouched, unsure, moving slowly. Then you see them a few months later, posture tall, strength visible, confidence radiating. That's you when you use silence as fuel. While they were waiting for you to crawl back, you were chiseling yourself into someone they no longer recognize. And nothing cuts deeper than realizing the person they thought they broke is now untouchable. Here's the lie they believed. If I walk away, he'll fall apart. He'll always need me. That belief gave them comfort. It made them reckless with your heart because they thought your dependence was unshakable. But the truth? You didn't just survive without them, you flourished. And that's what eats them alive. Because your growth isn't just about you. It's a mirror reflecting what they lost, what they took for granted, and what they can never reclaim. And I know the question running through your mind. But what if my growth goes unnoticed? What if they don't care? My friends, growth always gets noticed. Maybe not directly, maybe not instantly. But the world has a way of carrying news. A mutual friend mentions your progress. A picture of you at your best pops up online. A rumor of your success makes its way back. Or maybe, late at night, curiosity drags them to your page, and they see it with their own eyes. They see a man no longer weighed down by their absence, but lifted by his own presence. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." And that's the heart of this. Don't waste time trying to prove to them that you're worthy. Don't waste energy trying to show them what they missed. Be it, build it, live it, because your life itself becomes the loudest testimony. But let's break the hardest part. Why is growth so painful for them to witness? Because it exposes their lie. The lie that you were nothing without them. The lie that they were the prize. Growth doesn't just disprove the lie, it humiliates it, because while they expected to see desperation, they see discipline. While they thought they left you in ruins, they see you building a palace from the rubble. Think of it like a mirror, but not just any mirror, a mirror that doesn't flatter, doesn't soften, doesn't filter. Your growth is that raw reflection. When they see you rising, they don't just see you, they see the version of themselves who underestimated you, disrespected you, discarded you. And that image is haunting. And yes, growth takes effort. It's not easy to hit the gym when your heart is heavy. It's not easy to chase goals when your mind is clouded. It's not easy to rebuild when all you want to do is sit in the ashes. But remember this, pain is fuel. Let the weight of what you went through push you, not pull you down. Every step forward is proof that they didn't end you. They sparked you. Seneca said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." Your silence gave you room to strengthen. Your growth gave you power. And together, they created a version of you that they'll never have access to again. So here's your motivation. Stop thinking of silence as a punishment for them. Start thinking of it as a gift for you. Use it to sharpen your mind, elevate your spirit, and build the life you once thought you needed them for. Because the moment you do, the power dynamic flips forever. Type this in the comments to claim it as your reality. I grow for me. Write it, show yourself, show the world, and stay with me, because what comes next will reveal why you don't owe them explanations. Not now, not ever. Number 6. No explanations, no closure given. Not every story needs an ending. Some are meant to teach you to close the book yourself. My friends, this one is going to sting because it cuts against everything you were taught to believe. We are raised in a world that worships closure. People say, you need to sit down, you need to talk it through, you need to explain so everyone can walk away at peace. But let's be honest, how many times did you explain? How many times did you pour out your heart, thinking if you just gave them clarity, they'd finally respect you? And how many times did they shrug, twist your words, or disappear without giving you the same respect in return? The truth is this: you don't owe them closure. You don't owe them explanations. You don't owe them anything at all. Imagine this: you've been watching a movie for 2 hours. The plot is intense, the characters are messy, and you're hooked. Then, right at the climax, the screen goes black. No credits, no ending, no resolution. You sit there fuming, wondering what happened. Did the power go out? Was the movie unfinished? You check for answers, but nothing comes. That irritation, that endless loop of questions, that's what your silence feels like to them. They expected one last argument, one last text, one last open door where they could justify their actions or pull you back into their orbit. But when you give them nothing, when you close the book without permission, their mind eats itself alive. Here's the lie you've been told: if you don't explain, you're immature. If you don't give closure, you're cruel. Wrong. Cruelty is abandoning someone without care while still expecting them to crawl back. Immaturity is demanding explanations while giving none in return. The truth is, explanations are earned through reciprocity. If they never gave you answers, they don't get to demand yours. And closure? Closure isn't given, it's created. You create it when you decide you've had enough. But I know the fear that creeps in. You wonder, what if they misunderstand me? What if they think I was the problem? Let me tell you something powerful. Let them. Let them think what they want. Their version of the story doesn't change your truth. Their gossip, their excuses, their spin, it's just noise. The more you try to control their narrative, the more you stay chained to them. Real freedom comes the day you stop caring whether they get your side of the story. Because the people who matter, the ones who truly see you, don't need explanations, and the ones demanding them were never listening anyway. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. They left you hanging. Don't waste your life chasing an ending from them. Don't copy the very behavior that broke you. Instead, rise above it. Refuse to be dragged into their cycle of endless explanations. Your silence becomes dignity. Your refusal to explain becomes strength. Think of it like a chess game again. They want you to keep moving pieces, explaining every strategy, every thought, every feeling. But the moment you stop playing, there's nothing left to analyze. The board folds, the game ends. And that ending, abrupt, unfinished, is what lingers with them. It's what forces them to sit in the silence of unanswered questions. And trust me, the human mind hates unanswered questions more than it hates bad answers. But let's talk about why this is so hard for you. You're kind-hearted. You wanted to leave things better than you found them. You wanted to walk away with peace, with dignity, with some kind of mutual respect. And that desire made you vulnerable. It made you believe closure was about them. But the truth is, closure was always about you. You don't need their permission to move on. You don't need their blessing. You don't need them to understand. The day you decide, "I'm done explaining myself," is the day you reclaim your peace. Seneca said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." Stop waiting for their explanation to chart your course. Stop waiting for their version of closure to let you heal. You are the captain now. The port is peace. The wind is silence. And once you set sail, there is nothing they can do to stop you. So here's your motivation. Don't reopen wounds just to explain why you're bleeding. Don't break your own silence to soothe someone who never cared for your voice. Let the unfinished story remain unfinished. Let the questions remain unanswered. Because sometimes the most powerful chapter is the one that ends mid-sentence. Type this in the comments to lock it into your soul. I owe no closure. Write it, show yourself, show the world. And stay with me, because next we're going to talk about the one thing they can't bear, when emotional access is denied and they finally realize the door is locked for good. Number 7. Emotional access denied. Access to your heart is not a right. It's a privilege, and privileges can be revoked. My friends, this is where the shift becomes undeniable. For so long, even when you weren't talking, they still believed they lived inside your head. They assumed you were watching their stories, noticing their posts, waiting for them to circle back. They thought that no matter what, they had a window into your emotions, a back door into your world. And that belief gave them comfort, even power. But when you cut that access off, when you no longer react, no longer watch, no longer care, it shakes them in a way arguments never could. Imagine this. You've had a VIP pass to a concert for years. Front row, backstage, all access. You didn't even earn it. You just had it handed to you. And over time, you took it for granted. You showed up late, you didn't clap, you acted like the show was for you alone. Then one night, you arrive and the velvet ropes are up. Security shakes their head. Your name's not on the list anymore. Suddenly, the access you assumed was guaranteed is gone. That's the moment they face when you stop giving emotional access. Here's the lie they believed. He'll always be watching. He'll always be there in the shadows, waiting for my signal. That lie made them arrogant. It made them careless with your presence because they thought your attention was permanent. But the truth is, emotional access is earned through respect and consistency. And once you pull the plug, once you lock the doors, they realize how fragile their control really was. And I know the fear you might have right now. You're thinking, but if I stop caring, if I stop checking, won't that make me invisible to them? My friends, let me break this down. Being invisible is exactly what shakes them. Because for so long, your attention was their oxygen. Your reactions, your replies, your views. That's what fed their ego. And the day you stop, the day you erase them from your mental landscape, they choke on the silence. They panic because the reflection they depended on, your attention, is gone. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Emotional access is part of that power. They can't force their way into your thoughts unless you let them. The scrolls, the posts, the memories, they don't get to live rent-free anymore. You reclaim the lease. And when you do, you remind yourself that your inner world is sacred. Not everyone deserves a seat inside. Think of it like a fortress. For years, you left the gates wide open. Anyone could walk in, wander through, rearrange the furniture, leave a mess, and walk out without consequence. But now, the gates are shut. The drawbridge is lifted. Guards are on patrol. They can knock all they want, but they'll only hear the echo of their own voice bouncing back. And that echo, it drives them mad. But let's be honest, it's not easy at first. Denying emotional access means resisting the urge to check their updates, to stalk their page, to wonder what they're doing. It means choosing to protect your peace over feeding your curiosity. And that's hard because curiosity feels like a drug. You want one more hit, one more look, one more clue. But every time you peek, you reopen the door they no longer deserve to walk through. Seneca once wrote, "He who is brave is free." And bravery here is the courage to stop giving your energy to someone who didn't value it. Freedom is not just walking away, it's locking the door behind you and throwing away the key. Because the moment they realize they can no longer reach you, no longer move you, no longer tap into your emotions, that's when regret begins to sink in. Not when you cried, not when you begged, not when you argued. Regret arrives when you've gone silent and cold, and they feel the weight of being erased. And make no mistake, being erased from your world is devastating to someone who once believed they had permanent access. It's not revenge, it's reality. Reality teaches them that your emotions were never theirs to own, only yours to share. And now that sharing is over. So here's your motivation. Guard your heart like the fortress it is. Protect your mind like the sanctuary it should be. Not everyone gets in. Not everyone earns a key. And when you live by that truth, you'll realize that denying emotional access isn't just about them. It's about you reclaiming peace.